Yeah. I think the B World and B Korea and B Ukraine, three of them are main vehicle of B ministry in the world at the moment. And in addition to these three major groups, what other groups you envision in the future that will play an important role? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think the difficult part now is, like, we have, I think, whether it's the B Korea Nepal, or whether it's B Myanmar, or whether it's, the ones that are fairly independent, but they don't have the means.
I see.
I think that, and even Ukraine doesn't have much, they don't have much to be able to do. I mean, they have people trained. They would be glad to go anywhere. They just don't have the funding to do it. And I think that that's the most difficult thing, where Korea has a good economy, US has a good economy, and we can attract people, they can get their support raised. It's very difficult for the other countries. And Ukraine's, they've had a difficult time. And I think they still, if they're getting supported by somebody, it's usually somebody in America, the ones who are able to do more. So the guys you see at the conference, they're not coming with Ukrainian money much. Somebody's helping them out of the US. So I don't know what the future, if some of the countries' economic situation changed, or they had the ability to develop some system in their own country to fund them, then I think a lot of them would be glad to do a lot more. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's because of their heart that they're not going or expanding. It's just the means and resources they need.
There's another big issue that, in terms of our future, that we're looking at. We've established a pretty good working partnership with an outfit called Harvesters. And it's a group coming out of South Africa. They're all over Africa, but they're in scores of countries all over the world. And they have an exact same philosophy as BEE. So there's obviously an easy partnership.
It's a church planning group. No, it's not a training group, but the same
operating in African region, right?
And they have a 6-course curriculum that they use. It's very simple, very basic. And they've really realized that it's not adequate to train leaders of these churches. So when they started talking with us and saw the curriculum, they felt this was exactly what they were looking for. And they have, how many, Al? I've heard just horrendous.
Oh, they have thousands of churches. They plan.
Thousands of churches. They're all over the world. And they're looking at possibly 100,000 students that over, say, the next decade or 5 to 10 years that they'd like to turn over to BEE.
I see.
We can't possibly do that right now. So we have a recruiting binge on to get 50 facilitators by, 2025? And that's what we figure we would need. Of course, those 50 would be training thousands of facilitators to do the work. But we need to get more on our team. It just dawned on me. I don't know what you guys are planning for your future, but there might be a possibility that we could partner with you in some of that. We'd have to talk with Dave Semmelbeck, who's the new president, but I'm sure he'd be open to discussing that.
I see. Well, what I feel that somehow the Korea has a responsibility in the coming decades also, because in the B ministry, B Korea has played some role so far, And I think in the coming 1 or 2 decades, there might be a mission or some responsibilities that Korea have to take. And Korea must have some weakness, and also at the same time we may have some strengths. And I was wondering what kind of preparations that Korea have to do to take this kind of responsibility in the bee ministry in the coming decades.
You know, I think that, I know I've talked to Dave Semmelbeck and Larry, the vice president now of the field ministries.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel that, you know, there should be a meeting between Bee Korea, Bee World, I think the Ukraine guys, and even a couple of the other countries where they have potential maybe in the future, just to talk about some kind of strategy for the future that maybe you can help each other. Maybe there's ways to learn from each other. You know, we've talked about that several times in the past. We had a couple of short meetings, but because everybody was so busy, we never really followed through. And I think with the opportunities that are out there for us to be able to really capture them, if we could find a way of working together, I don't mean, you know, on the same teams necessarily, which to me, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but that doesn't work for everybody. But some way that we see the resources we can share or where we can help each other. Because as we expand, I mean, there's curriculum course, there's languages that are translated. We shouldn't all be doing this, you know, translating the same languages and stuff. We should be able to use each other's materials. That might help capture the thing, but that'd be one part of it. I think is at least communicate enough so you know what each other are doing and where you're doing it and where you need help. I mean, that's also possible, or where you can help us. And that will take some energy.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that's the most difficult in missions. Even though we're pretty close together, we still have, you know, our own things that we need to do. We have our own needs and the structures and stuff. And sometimes it's really hard to break out of that and say, look, I'm going to give some time to maybe it will help us to go beyond what we're able to do alone.
Well, what's the biggest challenges you are facing in the bee world right now?
I would say for us, I mean, right now, as far as I know, it's just enough facilitators for Africa because they're ready to open up groups that we do not have enough people to go to. So it's not, in that sense, it's not really a financial thing. It's just a human resource thing where we have more facilitators that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we're talking about, you know, being more effective and maybe getting more nationals involved from the beginning in a facilitator level instead of us doing all the first generation. Some of them could help us do first generation because some of them are also equipped pretty well that we run into that do have maybe some of the same theological background and stuff that we have. It's just that they've never been exposed to something like BE. But it seems to me like with the things multiplying, whether it's in Africa or India, is in a few other countries. I think South America, there's going to be a need, but we need more, I would say, first generation facilitators, people that can go into a place and start the ministry and do a good job of it. And if you could do, you know, one couple or one pair, I mean, you could do 3 or 4 new ministry things if you were, and have several new groups started. I think that's a key thing because I know for BE now on this side, we're behind on the ability to provide enough facilitators from our side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people out there ready to study, I mean, and they want to turn these groups over. And we've been able to stay up for the last, this last year. So I think because COVID slowed things down, it helped us a little bit because there would have been more things to do than we could have handled. And that's something new for us. I mean, this has just happened in the last year and a half, the Africa thing, where it's really starting to explode. We've been working there a long time, but right now it just sort of, we've got these relationships we develop and it's just taken off.